Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 40 of the Run in the Paint podcast. I'm Miles here with Nick and Jackson. Guys, how are you doing today?
What's up, boys? Hello, everybody. Jackson, before we get started, I do have to give you a lot of credit because I have more stock in your preseason finals prediction now than ever before. Tell the people what it is.
Yeah,
The Knicks versus the Timberwolves in the NBA Finals
Made that prediction in the in the
before the
summer.
season even started,
he said
baby.
this in like September, and it's
Oh,
it
I got
is
more
it.
stock in it
Yeah,
now than ever. I mean, I got to give you kudos. I would love to see that matchup.
that would be fun. I don't know if if it will happen, but
it's not easy being this smart all the time, I tell you.
Possibly, I mean, two of the hottest teams in the playoffs right now, if not the two hottest. We're gonna
yeah,
get into it.
potentially. Yeah, we've got a lot of playoff things to talk about here. It was a great weekend of basketball, or I guess a great Sunday, because Saturday there were a lot of blowouts. It was not a lot of fun. So, but Sunday there were a couple close games that came down to the wire, and it was super fun. Let's start with the New York Knicks and Philadelphia 76ers. The Knicks taking a 3-1 lead over the Sixers with a 97-92 victory, led by who else but Jalen Brunson, putting on the best performance in the playoffs in Knicks history with 47 points and 10 assists. Guys, I
You
already know
know,
where you guys will want to start with this, talking about Joel Embiid's horrible fourth quarter. But before we get to that, let's give some love to the New York Knicks for a little bit with how much they fought in this game. It looked like for a
oh,
while through three quarters that this was going to be similar to game three, where Jalen Brunson goes off like he did in game three, but all the other guys don't really show up offensively, and the
Josh
Sixers are going to
Hart.
tie it up. But the Knicks pulled this out because their role players, they stepped up, and it wasn't necessarily in the scoring department. It was everywhere else.
Yeah, for sure. Jalen was steady throughout the game, very impressive. But like you said, it really was, Josh Hart, Deuce McBride, what those guys were doing in addition to Jalen because um, Jalen took 37 shots in this game. He scored almost 50 points, but he also missed a lot of shots. He, I think, was 19 for 37. But the thing is, like the rest of the Knicks shot 36%, and he was up over 50. So he kind of needed to do that.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, the Knicks' biggest question was their, half court offense, because sometimes it can get a little stagnant for them offensively. But Jalen Brunson, man, that was just incredible. That was definitely that was one of the best playoff games I've ever seen by a point guard in my life. Like
Derrick
it was
Rose, uh, reminiscent.
it was special, man. And it just seemed like the Knicks kept taking hits and injuries. Of course, in game three, Mitchell Robinson gets injured off of a dirty play by Joel Embiid. I'm sure we'll get to that later. He misses this game. Bojan Bogdanovic, one of their only real offensive creators, gets injured a minute into his action in game four. So the Knicks basically had to run a 7-man rotation. Isaiah Hartenstein had 5 fouls in the third quarter alone, because if there is anything that Joel Embiid did well, he was putting on a clinic of drawing fouls, and Isaiah
Oh,
Hartenstein had to
big
head to the bench in the fourth quarter.
surprise.
That is
Um,
about the only thing he was doing well in this one.
Big
yeah,
surprise.
but
Joel
OG
Embiid
and
5 fouls.
Anunoby and Josh Hart combining for 31 rebounds at the wing positions. Just sensational work by those guys. And Josh Hart finding a way to once again have a terrific game despite not making a basket, having 17 boards, 5 assists, and 3 blocks.
And this isn't anything new for Josh Hart. He's been doing this not only all year, but last year in the playoffs versus the Cavs, he torched Jared Allen and Evan Mobley on the board. So I can't even say that. Well, he had a lot of help from Mitchell Robinson in that series, but I can't even say that it's just Joel and his lack of physicality on the boards. Although he has to do more if they want to win. Like I'm watching him, his hands above everyone else, and he's just tipping the ball down. And he just needs to grab the ball, and that is
Yeah.
definitely helping Josh Hart pad those rebound numbers. But my point is, Josh Hart is this is him. He is him.
He is he has been the little MVP a little bit for the Knicks besides Brunson, of course. He's been their second most valuable player probably just because of all he does on the floor. But looking at the Sixers side of things, you could tell Joel Embiid after his exceptional 50-point game in game 3 where he was spectacular in game 3, in the fourth quarter of game 4 really struggled, 1 point, did not make a field goal, had some rough possessions. You could tell he was definitely tired and fatigued out there. He had to play the whole second half because really, I mean, the story of the series for the Sixers is that when he goes to the bench, they've been terrible. Like they've been horrible when he's been off the bench. I believe the numbers are there like a minus 38 in the 4 games where he's off the floor in limited minutes. That's only like 38 to 40 minutes of time where you're losing by a very, very, wide margin. So Nick Nurse, smartly, I think, is like, okay, we'll just play him the whole second half, but he got fatigued in the fourth quarter, and that really hurt him on the rebounding, like you said, and offensively, he just really struggled.
Oh my lord. He gets fatigued. What a sissy.
That's
what a
true.
Big sissy. Then they're fatigued from paying him any more money.
What in the world?
They're fatigued. The
I will
voters
say,
are giving him any more credit for MVP because he sucks.
MVPs need help to win playoff games, and he didn't have a whole lot in this one. Specifically, I mean, we talked about the inexperience from their role players, but I mean, he needs to be better. Everyone just needs to be better around him.
Tyrese played just as good as him. He had a little bit less efficient game, but still, Tyrese also scored in the fourth quarter. You can't have 1 point in the fourth quarter.
Oh, absolutely.
It's embarrassing. He's an embarrassment to the sport. He's a dirty player.
He is a dirty player.
Next game. Yeah. I'm sick of talking about this loser.
One more thing I will say is that not only did Embiid, like you said, Nick, Embiid does need his role players to step up a little bit more with Tobias Harris, Kyle Lowry, Tyrese Maxey needing to do more offensively and being a little bit more efficient. But on the boards as well, like, yes, Embiid has to be better on the boards, but, like, it's similar to, the Knicks Cavs series last year and really any, game that the Knicks play in. Like, you need all your other guards and wings to help out in the rebounding, areas. Like, last year and now this year, it's not like Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson have been putting up crazy numbers on the boards, but it's so dominant because all the other wings and guards do such a great job rebounding the ball with Hart, Anunoby, even Brunson's a solid rebounding point guard. Like, the centers, they even it out, but where they dominate on the boards is the wing positions, those other areas. And that's a point of emphasis that the Sixers needed to, really have a chance late. I mean, just the offensive rebounds, 15 offensive boards by the New York Knicks compared to just 9 for the 76ers. And that's really been the story. It's been the Sixers bench and the rebounding.
Yeah, the fourth quarter specifically was really bad on the boards for Philly, and they just couldn't get the ball in the basket in the fourth quarter. Not only Joel Embiid couldn't score, but no one on Philly could score, and they were just giving the Knicks every single second chance opportunity that came off the rim. It seemed like the Knicks came up with the ball.
Yeah, it's been great to see from the New York Knicks perspective. They're now up 3-1 with a chance to close it out on
one more thing on the Knicks
Tuesday night.
Move on.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, they are fun to watch, which is why I wanted to give Jackson the credit at the beginning of pod, because they just play extremely hard. They don't take possessions off. They have all 5 guys out there all locked into the same thing, which is just to take advantage of every single opportunity they have to gain an advantage and to win. They just are locked in from jump to the final buzzer. They play 48 minutes. They play together. They play defense. They rebound. It's just fun to watch. I like this team a lot.
Yeah, I do too, man. It's a nice little sort of fresh air when you look at how, of course, the Knicks have been the laughingstock of the league for really our whole lives watching basketball until last season when Jalen Brunson signs there. One last thing before we move on. Richard Jefferson on the broadcast yesterday made an interesting take. He made an interesting take that I want to hear your guys' opinions on. He said that Jalen Brunson is the best Knick that he's ever seen since 2000.
Agreed.
You think Jalen Brunson or Carmelo Anthony? That's really the question here.
Jalen Brunson.
I don't know. I haven't seen enough from Jalen to put above Carmelo for me. That's just me though.
I think that Jalen Brunson could get there if the Knicks can go on a deep run this year. He's almost there. I mean, this is only his second year.
And here's the thing. Put Carmelo on this team instead of Jalen Brunson, and I like them even more.
No, what? No, what?
Ooh.
Who's gonna play make? Who's gonna take the ball up?
That's the thing. You wouldn't have a point guard at that point.
I guess. I mean, yeah, you would have to fill in some kind of. You'd have to fill in that spot, but.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I think Carmelo. I think Brunson fits this team definitely better than Carmelo would.
With the talent around him, I guess is my point.
Carmelo has never been the best player on his team. He's not even the best player to wear the number 15 for.
The only guy who had
dude, what is that?
Had with him in New York was Amari Stoudemire.
Okay, I just want to anyone who says that argument about he's number 15 is retired is going to be retired by another player.
No,
it's retired by like one of the best players ever to play in the game. That's a horrible argument. Like, of course, Jokic is going to have it over Carmelo. Jokic is one of the best players.
Yeah, that is one over Melo, not Brunson though yet.
Yeah, I think Brunson. It'll take maybe one more year, but he's definitely made a good case because he's turned this franchise completely around.
I still don't think that this team has a chance against Boston. What do you guys think?
Well, oh man.
I would give them 6 games, but that's the max right now.
No. Shut up. Shut up.
You know what? I'm excited if that becomes a thing for the Eastern Conference Final. That's going to be a fun prediction video. Right now, I would probably go Celtics in 5 or 6.
Yeah, same.
Give me Knicks in 5, baby.
No, that's ridiculous. Well, I guess all right. Next series.
They would kill Boston on the boards.
Probably the second most exciting series so far.
Most likely. Well, would you say that this the Clippers Mavericks series? That's what we're going to next. Do you think this has been the best series so far?
No.
I like the Knicks series. That's been my favorite.
Boring.
Okay. Boring. You haven't even watched the games.
And I won't watch any more.
Oh my gosh. Well, look, yesterday Mavs Clippers was very, very fun. It was I wouldn't say back and forth, but it was an insane turn of events. The Clippers ended up pulling it out 116-111, where the Clippers, after getting blown out in Game 3 pretty badly, pretty thoroughly, none of their players really played well in Game 3. Game 4, with no Kawhi Leonard, missing the game due to, reoccurring knee injury, they completely blitzed the Mavericks to start. They went up by 31 points midway through the second quarter, but then the Mavericks stormed back, had the lead late in the fourth quarter. It was incredible, but the Clippers, thanks to some big-time shot-making by Paul George and James Harden, pull out the victory to even the series at 2 games apiece. Nick, where do you want to start with this game?
I want to start with Paul George because Paul George came out with some intensity. He had some bad intentions in the first quarter. He was just getting anything he wanted, made the Mavericks look really bad, made Jason Kidd look like he didn't know what he was doing. Made just every single bucket, every single look that he got was a good look because he was just in a rhythm. He was in his zone. And then he took a step back. In the second half, he kind of let other guys cook. James Harden got it going. They looked inside and found Zubac, who continued to dominate and do his thing in this series. Another really good performance from him on both ends. And then at the end, though, Paul George, it was playoff P time. He had some massive buckets down the stretch. And, I think a lot of people put Kawhi as the first option on this team, and that's always confused me because Kawhi is a great – he's one of the greats. His best attribute is being a two-way guy. That's not Paul George. Paul George is a killer. He's always been, I don't know, in my opinion, probably the number one option on this team.
Interesting. I mean, well, I think one reason that you could...
Was he the number one option for the 2-month period where Kawhi was averaging like 33 points a game?
I guess not. So, like, it has to be like an ebb and flow thing. But in the playoffs, when Kawhi's on a bum knee and PG is playoff P, then yeah.
Well, then, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's showing that Paul George can definitely be... He is definitely capable of, winning you a playoff game. We've totally seen this throughout his, career. We've also seen the opposite in his career. He's had some duds in the playoffs, including Game 3. But no, you're right. In the first quarter alone, Paul George had 16 points, 6 of 9 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3. And they were some ridiculous shots. Yeah. Like, even at the end of the first quarter, like, there was one time, I think he caught the ball. I don't know who was guarding him, but the defender was pretty close up on him. Paul George was just like, whatever, I'm just going to fire this one up. And it went in. He was just in a complete rhythm. The shot in the fourth quarter, that step back three from the corner behind the backboard, that was sensational. Like, I think one reason that, fans, I think there are definitely more fans of Paul George out there than Kawhi, because when he's on, he just, it's so much fun to watch. He has a very smooth game.
He has a theme song.
He has a theme song?
Yeah. Erykah Badu theme song. You know that song?
What, Jackson? Do you know what he's talking about?
There's a whole interview with Paul George being asked about his theme song. It's Erykah Badu. I forget what the name of the song is, but
oh my god,
it's just him cooking, and then there's me. It's a meme video.
That's funny.
I like the Jordan Poole video better, personally.
Well, of course you do, but so I think importantly though for the Clippers as well in that first quarter, Paul George was cooking, but so was everybody else. Like, to start the game in that first quarter, the Clippers were 65% from the field, 8 for 11 from 3. Compared to the Mavericks, they shot 4 of 16, 0 for 7 from 3. I mean, it was just two completely opposite teams in that first quarter.
I think they were 0-9 at one point.
Yeah, probably going into that second quarter before the Mavericks really went on their crazy run. And it was sparked by Kyrie Irving, who had not scored through the first quarter and a half, but then went off for 40 points the rest of the game, making ridiculous shots. Like, we talk about Paul George being fun to watch when he's on. Me personally, Kyrie is definitely one of my top 3 favorite players to watch when he's on, because there's just nothing he can't do with the basketball. That one crazy layup over 3 defenders was crazy. He had some crazy passes too, and it really helped overshadow a game where Luka, even though, you look at the box score, 29-point triple-double, I didn't really feel like he was having the best game out there. I think that Kyrie was really, really leading the Mavericks to getting back in this game.
The thing for me with Luka was he just looked like he was letting everything that wasn't the game be his focus. We saw him pick up that early tech in the first quarter. He was frustrated from the tip with the officiating, as he typically tends to be. But
yeah, he usually is, yeah.
We've seen him be more mature in this series and in recent, like towards the end of the season and stuff, like during their run when they got hot. But this seemed like just a bit of a step back for him personally. And it was cool to see Kyrie kind of step up. They made this a game when they were down 30 points, and that was insane. But ultimately, you have Luka locked in from the jump. Maybe you don't go down 30 and have to claw your way back. Depends so much on Kyrie. And now it's 2-2 heading back to LA.
Yeah. I think now on the Clippers side of things, we talk about Paul George. We got to talk about James Harden, because he had a flashback performance. I saw this funny thing on Twitter, and they were like, playoff Harden is back. And it's like, I mean, that could mean 2 different things, because we know how Harden's performed in the past. Yeah. But we got vintage James Harden in this game, going for 15 in the fourth quarter, all on floaters and mid-range shots, which is a part of James Harden's game that you really didn't see a lot in his time in Houston, because of, the emphasis on shooting threes and getting to the basket. It reminded me a lot of his early, Thunder days and Kevin McHale days of his, working in that 2-point area. But he was sensational. It seemed like he was making the right play every single time. A very efficient game for him. He finished with 33 points, 6 boards, 7 assists. And when he and Paul George are, on the same, wavelength like they have been in games 1 and 4 of this series, their 2 wins, it's very, very hard to beat them in a game.
Yeah, it's like a two-headed snake, and you don't know which one's coming.
Even when Luka and Kyrie are, we're saying that Luka had a, just an okay game when he had 29, 10, and 10. But, that's two, really every star of this game really showed out and played very, very well. And now as the series shifts back to LA for game 5 on, I would expect Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. Momentum, I would say it's back in the favor of the Clippers getting that huge win in game 4. But if you're the Mavericks, I think you have to be feeling pretty good about yourselves, with this being a split series. And, we've seen their ability to win games on the road in the past and in this series before. So I think if you're the Mavericks, you're feeling pretty good as well.
What are you guys looking for in game 5?
Luka bounce back game.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the Mavericks, I think it's about them getting off to a good start because we saw in their 2 losses in games 1 and 4, game 4, obviously down by 31 points midway through the second quarter. Same thing really in game 1. They scored just 30 points in the first half. When they've gotten off to solid starts where they're even in the game to start, which we've seen in games 2 and 3, they usually go on to win the game. So I think that that's the big thing for them is to get off to a better start. That's really the main thing I look at from the Mavericks standpoint of things. How about the Clippers for you guys?
Can James Harden keep this up? Because I know we were talking in the beginning of the podcast before we started rolling, was how the Mavericks kind of schemed them up this game, which was kind of to run them off the three-point line and force things into the paint, which doesn't work for them. They're not big. So if they continue to do that, can James Harden continue to hit, mid-range shots in the lane? And we were talking before, I don't mind that scheme because James Harden has definitely regressed in his mid-range and his ability to score in the lane. But in a playoff atmosphere, when no one's stepping up, you were talking how Kleber is just in the drop. He's fading back towards the hoop as James Harden. I mean, they're wide open. I'm not going to let James Harden cook me wide open from 10 to 15 feet the whole series because he's going to do that.
Yeah. I think a part of that, too, was when it was in the fourth quarter, I believe, when Mason Plumlee was in the game. Harden drove, and there were a couple times where he fed Plumlee on a lob or a cut on the baseline. So then later on, that opens up that mid-range area for Harden because now Kleber, who's defending in the back, is like, oh gosh, he's thrown it to Plumlee these 2 times before. I'm scared of the lob pass.
Yep.
But it just leaves Harden wide open, and that's where I think if you're Jason Kidd, you have to put either Gafford or Lively back in the game to defend, in that area to defend the rim and defend and protect the paint in that situation. Because offensively, Kleber hit a couple of threes, but they were thriving off of Kyrie Irving creating and going down the lane and finishing, and he was having a field day dumping it off to Gafford and Lively as well. So that's something to definitely watch out for is how the Mavericks defend the Harden isolations down the stretch of games, but should definitely be a lot of fun. So now this being a best of 3 series between the Clippers and Mavericks, the Clippers obviously having the home court advantage. Who do you guys have pulling out in this series now that we're 4 games in?
Mavericks.
Clippers. I've got Clippers in 7. I'm sticking with it.
They kept it close when Luka had a down game. I mean, I think that you're not going to get many bad games from Luka. I don't think he's especially not going to have 2 in a row. So I think
I mean, he hasn't been great this whole series though.
Does that mean that he's due for that for a crazy game?
So, I mean, Luka's shown that he can turn up in the playoffs. He's shown it against the Clippers in the past, aka the bubble.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
It's tough, man. I don't know who. Right now, I think I might go Mavericks still as well. I think that the Mavericks, if they can win this game 5, they'll have a great opportunity to close it out in game 6 at home. Yeah, man. I think that it's definitely gonna be a close game 5. At least that's what you would expect. You have to feel for Kawhi Leonard though, man. Just
Yeah.
injured in really every postseason since 2017, besides the championship year and the bubble year. He's been injured and banged up every single season. So I'm kind of rooting for the Clippers. I hope they can pull it out because I'd hate for their season to get derailed again by Kawhi being injured. Even though it's looked like they've been better without him this series because,
2-0.
yeah, I mean they're 2-0 and they've it's definitely looked like they've tried to force things into Kawhi when he's been in the game. So we'll see what happens. I've got Mavs. Jackson's got Mavs. Knicks got Clippers. Should be a lot of fun. Now let's go to a series that is surprisingly already over with the Minnesota Timberwolves defeating the Phoenix Suns, sweeping their way to the second round, getting their first playoff series victory since 2004, just their third win overall, their first ever sweep. By sweeping the Phoenix Suns, I cannot believe this, man. I can't believe it.
My favorite part of this last night was the interview with Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns post game because their relationship seems awesome right now, and that's one of the most important things in winning is being happy with who you're playing with. Obviously, we saw the Nuggets talk about it. Jokic talked about it, how they've been building morale and continuity for a decade plus in Denver, and then they bring in the pieces. Similar thing going on in Minnesota. They built a lot through the draft, bring in Gobert, bring in Conley, and now these guys just really like playing together, and they don't have a lot of holes, so it's fun to watch. It's fun what's going on there, and yeah, that was my favorite part was just seeing. It reminds me like how OKC kind of stood up TNT and went to their Bally Sport interview to do their home interview. Like,
Yeah.
I just like the vibes on OKC on Minnesota. Like, they just like playing together. That's why they're winning.
Yeah. I mean, their on the court play has been spectacular, but you're right. It's maybe more important to have that off the court chemistry because we've seen that with this Phoenix Suns team, it's been the complete opposite, really, with a lot of dysfunction going on. A lot of things have come out after the results of this game and this series, and it just being a very, very disappointing season for the Phoenix Suns. I know even Jackson at the beginning of the series, no one thought that they would get swept out of this series. Even if you picked the Timberwolves winning, most of us had the Suns winning. I had the Suns in 5. I look like an idiot now after the way this series has gone on. But shout out to Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns. I will for this series. I'll admit when I'm wrong because the Timberwolves played extremely, extremely well, led by Anthony Edwards in that fourth quarter. He had a bit of a slow start, but dominated the rest of the way, finishing
Miles, I
want to
know what
points.
You think went wrong. Because I know, I'm sorry, I had to cut you off.
Yeah,
because we talked about how, my big thing for this series is the Suns should have been able to shoot a ton of threes and hit a ton of threes and win by relying on their offense and kind of like not letting the Timberwolves score, but like playing a fast pace and shooting a lot of threes, keeping it in Kevin Durant's hands and Devin Booker's hands. But they just seemed like they weren't able to execute that game plan at all.
I think that their main problems this series were similar problems that they've had the whole regular season, and the fact that they did not have a real point guard that could distribute them and get them into their sets offensively. Like, of course, Booker, Durant, Beal, even Nurkic, they're solid playmakers. They can set up things for, one another, but having a real point guard really, really makes a difference here. And throughout the series, the Suns just were not able to, really get themselves going offensively. Even at home, it took them a while in game 3. They really disappointed in game 3 of this series. Game 4, it looked like they were going to pull it off, but the fourth quarter, it's something that we talked about all season with the Suns being one of the worst fourth quarter teams in a long time, the worst in the league. And a lot of that is because of their lack of having a point guard. And you saw that there were a lot of isolations. Frank Vogel, it's come out that Kevin Durant really didn't like the way Frank Vogel set up the offense with a lot of pick and rolls and Kevin Durant being mitigated to being a spot up guy in the corner a lot of times. I do have to give a lot of credit though to Devin Booker though. A lot he gets a lot of hate for his performances in elimination games. In this game, he stepped up with 49 points. They definitely needed it a little bit earlier.
13 to 21 from the field. I think he shot over 50% from deep.
He shot 20 free throws. He shot 20 for 21 on free throws.
Do you guys know how long ago it's been since Kevin Durant has won an elimination game?
No.
An elimination game?
Without Steph Curry?
Game 7. Or no, he didn't win Game 7. Yeah, when? When would it have been? Game 7?
2014.
Yeah, probably 2014.
He's a sissy.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That is definitely crazy with Kevin Durant and this Suns team out in the first round.
Frank Vogel soon to be out of Phoenix.
Dude, it's definitely looking like he might get fired after 1 year, which would just be a crazy turn of events. But all the credit to the Minnesota Timberwolves, man. They're now headed to the second round where they're going to be in for a tough series against most likely the Denver Nuggets. We'll get to the Nuggets-Lakers series in a little bit.
We're ready.
Minnesota head coach Chris Finch. Hopefully he gets well soon.
Yes, that's going to be a big thing as well. Chris Finch going down with a knee injury in the fourth quarter. You never see this happen where a coach gets injured.
Anthony Edwards was pissed. He was not happy in the post-game interview, talking about how, I was mad when I was pissed when Coach Finch went down.
Well, I mean, it's your head coach. You don't want to see him go down.
His boy.
Yeah. But yeah, man, shout out to the Timberwolves getting it done. They're going to get a nice long rest here. The first team to advance to the second round. And just an impressive first round series for the Timberwolves.
Guys, now that we've wrapped up all 4 games from yesterday, who was 4-0 in Pick'em yesterday? Just real quick for the viewers.
I was out for 4 because I didn't do them.
Was it you? We haven't gotten to the fourth game yet.
It would have been me.
We'll do that later.
Would have been me if I actually did it, but
you didn't do it, so you didn't win any.
I never do it. I've given up on my NBA fandom.
You sell just like Joel.
Don't you dare.
Ooh.
You sick son of a bitch.
What series you guys want to go to next? You want to go to Bucks Pacers so we close out all the games?
Were we going to Orlando, Cleveland?
Yeah, we can go to Orlando, Cleveland. Let's go ahead with the Magic.
The Cavs suck.
No, I don't know where this one's gonna go.
So Orlando with 2 terrific bounce back performances after going down 2-0. They blitzed the Cavs in both games in Orlando, and they've evened up the series at 2 games apiece.
They destroyed.
Miles, you were ready to get the brooms out last time we were on here.
Home court advantage matters, man. Home cooking definitely matters, man.
Dude, the Cavs suck.
Well, so yes, they were terrible in games 3 and 4. Game 4, they looked great in the first half.
Yeah.
They came out great. It looked like games 1 and 2. They looked fantastic in the first half, but it all turned around in the third quarter, and that might be one of the worst quarter performances I've ever seen from a team.
From a coach? From a rotation standpoint?
Rotation-wise, JB Bickerstaff has been outcoached severely in the 2 games in Orlando. I have a few ideas with what he could do in Game 5, but first of all,
I need to see Isaac Okoro some more. Why is George Niang out there and Isaac Okoro is not? And Jared Allen is not.
Yeah. So,
first, I think almost the same quarter twice, because in Game 3 they also had a quarter.
Game 3 was bad as well. Yeah. I think because I know we'll probably talk about a lot about the Cavs side of things because this is a we are Cavs fans around here besides Jackson Goglin now.
We'll talk about what Orlando's done well to win.
Don't call Nick a Cavs fan. Nick's not a Cavs fan either.
I want them to win. I know that they suck.
No, you hate the Cavs.
Okay, well, so Orlando, they made great adjustments in these 2 games. They put Jalen Suggs on Donovan Mitchell, and they started blitzing Darius Garland, and that's made a huge difference. And their role players have started to make shots. Like, as bad as the Cavs have played in these 2 games offensively, this was the same deal for the Magic in games 1 and 2. so far this series, no team has been able to play well offensively on the road. But the Magic, it was Franz Wagner in Game 4, Paulo Banchero in Game 3, putting up incredible 30-point double-doubles, efficient games, and they were getting everyone else involved as well. Jalen Suggs, Jonathan Isaac, Markelle Fultz, even in these two games, I thought that he was. I still think that there's a world where he's unplayable in this series, but when he's getting to the basket like he was in those two games, like you can definitely play him out there. Cole Anthony had a good Game 3. They've just really stepped up, man, and I'm very impressed with the Magic stepping up in these two games.
I'm impressed with the fact that we have no one to guard Franz Wagner. The Cavs don't have a matchup for him.
No, they've been.
Yeah. It's because we have to put our best defender, who's Evan, who matches up the best on their best player, which is Paolo, and then we have no one left to guard Franz. Like Paolo played 30 minutes in this game. He was 4 of 14. And Franz torched us for 34.
Game 3 has been Paolo's only good game, really, this series, and I think Evan Mobley has done a terrific job defending him this series. I think the big thing first for the Cavs is that you were saying with the Phoenix Suns, their 3-point shot, they need to get up more threes. The Cavs need to get up more threes and start making them more. I believe they've made a combined probably 12 threes the two games in Orlando, on not high volume at all. Really, everyone for the Cavs needs to play better besides Jarrett Allen. Jarrett Allen has been spectacular, really, every game this series. I wish that Bickerstaff played him more in Game 4.
He was spectacular. I mean, he was playing some of the best ball in that first half that I've ever seen out of Jarrett Allen.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. He was looking great. But
absolutely.
Yeah, Donovan Mitchell has to play better first and foremost. The Cavs are going nowhere if he's not playing well, and he has not played well in these two games. Darius Garland, I think he's been okay. I just think he isn't getting up enough shots because his efficiency, he's the only player that's been efficient from at least 3-point range and in the mid-range area. But it's been a rough couple of games for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I know a lot of people are panicking with this, but Orlando definitely still has to show that they can win on the road, because we've seen plenty of series in the past that go just like this.
Here's the story.
Yeah.
For me, I can sum this up pretty simply. It's what I said about the second guy who's going to be the big X factor after Paolo, because we're going to have Evan on Paolo, and then, Isaac is plus 25 in this game. Franz Wagner's torching us. So those two guys are going to be huge as the series goes on. And then on the other side for the Cavs, I like the fact, in this game you had 24 assists. You had Donovan and Darius still playmaking, still getting in the lane, doing things, finding the bigs. But what you have to cut down is the 15 turnovers, and then you just have to take more shots and make more threes.
Absolutely.
What do you guys? Do you want to see Sam Merrill?
So my personal thought on that is yes, but only when you have two bigs on the floor. Because what JB Bickerstaff's been doing is he's been playing off the bench. He's been playing Karis LeVert, who's almost been a nothing this series. Okoro, George Niang has been rough as well. What he's been doing when he's put Sam Merrill in the games when it's still a competitive game and not a blowout, is he has him out there with Niang and whoever the backup 5 is. And that's not good defensively, because Orlando can just, take advantage of that mismatch every single time, because the help defense is almost non-existent if you have Sam Merrill guarding a Markelle Fultz. Markelle Fultz has attacked Sam Merrill this series. So I think that you go to Sam Merrill only if you have two bigs on the floor. And that's where I think, personally, this is something that I haven't seen a lot of takes on it. I'm interested to hear what you guys think. If the Cavs are going to go with this, okay, we're not going to take a lot of threes because the Magic are defending us out at the 3-point line. And we're going to go all in on just making this ugly, defensive-minded, we're going to kill you on the board, similar to the first two games. The thought of maybe, instead of even going with a Marcus Morris instead of George Niang, going with Tristan Thompson along with the other big, with Mobley or Allen, to just go all in on being big.
I might see Tristan Thompson on the court.
I think that might be something that they need to go with, because the Cavs have been at their best this series with two bigs on the floor. So off the bench, I think Tristan along with a Mobley or an Allen might be interesting if you're just going to go all in defensively.
No, I don't mind that, because I know he will play his ass off. He will play as hard as he can for every single minute that he's on the court. So yeah, I don't mind that at all. I like what you're saying about getting Sam in there with the two bigs. My lineup for him would be Mobley, Allen, Merrill, Strus, and then one of the two, Garland, Mitchell.
Yeah, the only thing is, though, what's difficult is, obviously Sam Merrill comes off the bench. It's hard to play him with Mobley and Allen when he comes off the bench, because after the first 6 minutes, you're staggering Mobley and Allen as that backup five. So that's where it becomes very, very difficult. I definitely still think the Cavs, it's weird because the series is tied at 2 games apiece. It does not feel like that with the way that the Magic have played the last 2 games and the Cavs have oppositely played these last 2 games. It feels like we're down a whole bunch, but it's still tied at 2 games apiece. It's a best of 3 series. The Cavs still have 2 games at home. They definitely, on that sort of things, they definitely have, the advantage the rest of the way. But the Magic have certainly gotten themselves all the momentum heading into Game 5, and it will certainly be interesting. I think Game 5 will be the series. I think if the Cavs win, I think that they'll be able to win in Game 6 or Game 7. I think they could still win Game 6 in Orlando. If the Magic win, they'll win in 6. They'll win in 6. But it's certainly been ugly and maybe the least interesting series, even though it's tied at 2 games apiece.
Well, they've all been blowout. It's been back and forth, 2 big 20-point wins versus 2 big 20-point wins the other way. So
yeah, essentially, yeah.
You could say that they're evenly matched.
But both have been blowouts. It's like, that's another thing too. This will be the last thing I say before we move on to the next series. Like, with the Cavs, it's kind of hard to figure out what's wrong when you're getting blown out that badly.
It's not hard, Miles. It's been what's wrong forever with them. It's just Mobley and Allen are the same player, and Donovan and Darius are too similar as well.
But Mobley and Allen it's working when those two are on the floor together, so it's not the same thing. They're the best when they're both on the floor.
Idiot.
They just don't have
so
enough
it's not the same
variation.
thing.
Dumb serpent.
Yeah. I mean, it's offensive variation, but this whole series it's been offensive variation. But as far as like game-to-game adjustments, it's hard to tell really in any series when when it's a blowout.
Yeah, no, you're right about that.
Are we gonna score over
100 points
in the series?
That maybe could be what it comes down to. They've got to at least crack 90.
That is what I said about Orlando in my breakdown video before the series started. Was their best chance was to keep the Cavs under 100 points in every game.
So far, that's been split so far. So it should be interesting to see how that series definitely plays out. Game 5 is tonight as we're releasing this, 8 o'clock. So we'll definitely have our eyes on that.
Yes, sir.
I'm worried.
Moving on, let's go to the Nuggets-Lakers Game 4 from Saturday, where the Lakers finally beat the Nuggets. They stay alive, 119-108, thanks to crazy performances from Anthony Davis and LeBron James. They stay alive. They force a Game 5 back in Denver, where they'll try to force a Game 6 in LA. Really, this game, it was the fact that the Lakers were able to hold on to their double-digit lead. They've had double-digit leads the first 3 games of this series. In the first 3 games, they blew them all, and the Nuggets ended up coming back. This time, the Lakers were able to, hold off the Nuggets and come up with the victory.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they're just delaying the inevitable at this point.
Well, can LeBron come back from down 3-0? He did it down 3-1.
My Pookie can do whatever he wants.
Could the Lakers do it? Do you guys think that this could potentially give the Lakers enough momentum to bring this back to Game 6?
Yes, I think they can win. As we record tonight's last.
Yeah.
Game 5. Game 5. I think they can win Game 5 because Jamal Murray's out. and they're playing in LA, right? Yes.
Is Jamal Murray out?
I thought he was out.
Well, he didn't play well in game 4. He's a game time decision with a calf injury.
What?
He's a game time decision with a calf injury. So, but yeah, it was good to see from the Lakers finally getting a win. I mean, it felt like we were going down the same path again with the Lakers to getting a lead, blowing it, Nuggets pulling out the win. But the Lakers really did it, and the real star of this to me was Anthony Davis with 25 points, 23 rebounds, 6 assists. Like if you're making like an all NBA, if you're making like all NBA teams for the playoffs so far, Anthony Davis has definitely been a top 5, 6-ish player in the playoffs so far. He's been very impressive.
I think the Lakers led this one wire to wire, boys.
Yeah, they did.
Wire to wire. The most dominating victory you can imagine. Again.
Oh, yeah, against the Nuggets.
The defending champs.
Hey, that's fine with me. They're just helping out the Timberwolves at this point.
Getting the Nuggets tired out for next series.
Exactly.
When Ant's going to destroy the Mile High City.
MPJ versus Ant.
Rudy Gobert versus Jokic.
Dude, Jokic, man. Jokic and Porter both had good games in this one. I don't think there's a whole lot to worry about for the Nuggets. I think that similar to the Clippers Mavs, that the Nuggets need to get off to a better start. Like, I don't think there's no reason to have to come from behind double digits every game, you know? Like,
yeah.
If you just come out from the start, you know, you should be able to pull out the victory either way.
Yeah, Nikola Jokic with another masterclass, obviously.
You guys, that one pass he
33,
made.
14, and 14.
That no-look, like, little tip pass in the fast break was hilarious.
Transition.
That was hilarious.
I don't know. He makes the mundane look. I mean, like, that's a difficult, like, time. It's a timely thing. Like, it takes a lot of skill and timing to, like, make that pass and put it on the money. But he makes it look easy. Like, he makes it look like, oh, right on the money. There it is. No one's there to guard it. They're both guarding me because I'm him. I'm Gru. Chris Middleton. Yes, sir. Bobby Portis. Bobby Portis in this game got into it with Ryan Nembhard, who Ryan Nembhard is probably averaging less. Is that who it is? Wasn't it? Andrew Nembhard. Sorry, Andrew. Probably averaging less than 10 minutes per game in this series is not a critical, or maybe he's not. Maybe he's playing more. But anyways, Bobby Portis was much.
Stop talking about. Stop talking. He's been their like third leading scorer.
Oh well. In this particular moment, I think Bobby Portis was a little bit more important to the Bucks than Nembhard was to the Pacers because.
Well, no doubt, son.
That's all I'm trying to say. But yeah, Portis has to be smarter. I'm watching this game and he's looking like dialed in, like he's taking every single shot almost for the Bucks in the first couple minutes because he's the second option for them without Dame, without Giannis, and he's just chucking.
Chris Middleton.
And then they lose him for the rest of the game because he has an ego and can't let something go.
Wait. When did he get ejected?
He took I think he had put up. Let's see how many shots he put up before then, because yeah, right.
Beasley.
AJ Green. Oh. Yeah. Franchise record, playoff record from a 7-footer. Oh. Sorry, Miles. I think you meant the other way. They had 15 assists, 0 turnovers. I think you said it opposite.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. No, Dame and Giannis are coming back, and they're gonna win 3 in a row. You guys don't see that? I think there's a better shot at that happening than LeBron, obviously, in the Lakers. I think that if Dame and Giannis come back, they win one in Milwaukee, then that Game 6 becomes very interesting in Indiana. And from there, anything can happen, obviously. If Milwaukee can steal 2. They only have to win 2. If they win 2, then Indiana has no experience in anything.
If they win one more,
they'll win next game in Milwaukee.
All right, they win one more, then they lose the next game, and I'm right again. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother.
I picked Indy in 7.
I
stick
picked
with
Indy in 6, son.
True. Yeah, these teams definitely shoot a lot of threes. The Thunder and the Celtics. Maybe the Cavs and the Suns can take a page out of their playbook, even though the Suns are off to Turks and Caicos.
Cancun. They're off to Cancun. Give me the Spurs. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Well, no. The Knicks are playing the worst team in the playoffs because they have the worst player ever. Sure.
3-point shooting has been off the charts for the Thunder, especially like Josh Giddey 4-7, Lou Dort 4-8. Those aren't guys that you're counting on to hit 4 threes a game. Yeah.
Josh Giddey didn't hit 15. Thank you, brother.
And then as far as Boston, yeah, I don't know. I don't have a ton on them, I guess. Sorry. Anthony Edwards.